Welcome to another episode of Gen 5 Resto Mod. Today we're going to install the Holley swap oil pan. That's 302-20. There's the LT and the LS. This is the LT. And this is a 2016 LT1, the 8L90. I wanted to point out a couple of things before I get into it. This particular situation, I've removed the AC pump, which goes right in here. This is also the same location on the L83 where the vacuum pump goes. You can see where they're plugged right here and here. I've also taken off the serpentine belt and all the front stuff so you can better look at it. So this is the stock pan here, and this is where the oil cooler sticks, and it doesn't fit. Here's your oil cooler. They bolted on the side, and it's actually water cooled. It's a water cooled oil pump, and here is the monkey motion that GM has invented to cool this thing down. I mean, have a few clamps, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got enough clamps? 7 clamps. So they run 200-degree water into the oil cooler to cool it down, which I didn't think makes very much sense, but I'm sure there's a tremendous amount of engineering that goes into the design of it, but I don't like it. Originally, when I first did the LT4, we took these ports here, cut off AN12s and welded them in, and actually cut the bottom down because it just won't go in. It won't work on any kind of swap. And you might be able to get it in there, but 9 times out of 10, you're not going to. So that's the stock pan, and it's pretty low, but it's still not low enough on the roaster shop chassis. So you can see how much lower it is, or thinner, to give you more clearance. So I want to point out this oil pan swap because it's going to give me a little bit of a hiccup here. There's an interference fit in here, right where the pulley hits in there. And the reason why I've got it jacked up is because I couldn't quite get it in there manually. On the other side, which I'll show you, there's 2 locating pins. But I've kind of just dry fitting it right now before I start getting serious and putting the RTV silicone on it. So in Gen 5, we have a new PCV valve, positive crankcase ventilation, which is different than the trucks. I'm not sure why the trucks don't use the same thing, but this is a little reservoir right here, a plastic reservoir, which I've already broken on my LT4. I don't know why they'd want to make it out of plastic, but here your fumes and the crankcase oil reservoir goes into here, and then what happens is that it comes down. There's a convoluted pipe that goes into the sump. I'll show it on the other side. But on the swap pan, it's missing. They just give you a port over here that it kind of leaves it up to you if you want to use the factory positive crankcase ventilation system to drain the oil, which of course I think is a great idea. That design is great. I mean, it's taken them 50 years to figure out that we don't want to put that oil through your carburetor. We want to put it back in the sump where it belongs. So the way this thing locates, there's a locating pin here and a locating pin here that allows you to line them up. There's also a bolt under here, and everybody forget those. There's 2 long 4mm bolts, and it fits in there really nice. Holley makes a great product, and it's mandatory in this particular one to get your swaps to work. Here's the passenger side, right side of the oil pan, and this is the return line for your PCV system into the side. You can see there's a great big boss that's cast in here, and you kind of have to make up your own fittings. I have a local hydraulic place that does big truck stuff, and they come in and beat me up and charge me a lot of money for little dinky lines. They kind of laugh at me, but in this particular case, I think I'll probably just cut it off here and then put a 90 down in there and call it good with some AN fittings. But I want to retain this particular part of the Gen V system, which I think is really good. This one here also gets eliminated. That's your oil level system. They don't make any provision for that on the Holley pan. But as you can see, looks really good. And we'll also plumb in here our oil cooler lines. Now that's very similar to the way the trucks do. The trucks have an external line. They don't have this great giant huge oil cooler on the side of the pan. You know, like, why would you want to bolt an oil cooler next to your pan? Just heat soak alone would create a tremendous difference trying to cool it down. So part of the early 2014s and 2015 Corvettes, they, after about 4 or 5 laps on the track, they would go into limp mode because their oil was overheating. So this was kind of my solution, which was to take a clue from the off-road Baja Buggy guys and make an externally air to oil cooler and put one up in the front. And by doing that, I've extended the capacity from 10 to 12 quarts. So anyway, there's a quick little 1-2 on the Holley 302-20 swap oil pan for Gen 5 engines. Thanks for watching.